Hello and welcome to this week's bartenderhq.com podcast, and this week's is a little bit different. This week I've been over at Reflex Arcadian, which is the nightclub where I work, and I've been helping out with training some new bartenders, so that's what this week's show is going to be all about. So we're going to go through a little bit about the procedures that we're using to train these guys, the kind of progression that they're going to go through, and also give you guys the chance to learn along with them. So let's do the introductions and we'll get on with the show.
Welcome to the bartenderhq.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at bartenderhq. Here's your host, David Eden-Sangwell.
So this is going to sort of be the story of the training of two new bartenders. Now these guys, their names are Ben and Shannon. They have been recruited last week. They came to a kind of little assessment day with us at Reflex Arcadian. There were 4 bartenders that came in. The job description was for a trainee Flair bartender. So rather than going for just let's hire some bartenders and see who can Flair, we've actually assessed these guys at the time that they were hired. Now the hiring was not purely based on how well they did with flaring or anything at all like that. It was different attitude things, how well they fit in with the team, and all that sort of thing. So by no means is this... we didn't select the best Flair bartenders or the best flairers that came in. Now, I would point out that Reflex, they're not that bothered about experience, and that is actually quite a nice thing, because it means that now, coming in to help train these guys, we don't need to try and untrain old bad habits, if you like. So these guys, Ben, his background is he has actually worked in bars before. High volume place, but all optic based, so not free pouring, not even pouring into jiggers for the majority of the drinks. It was a rock venue, so a little bit of a different scene to the Reflex bar as well. And that's, but he's used to kind of being busy and he's used to interacting with people. That's fine. Shannon is a student who is studying travel and tourism, wants to go on and become a 1830s kind of rep. She's never bartended before, she's never worked in a bar, so obviously she's got a completely different skill set. So what we're going to be doing is over the next few weeks we're going to be training them up. We're not in the situation where we're desperate to get them behind the bar straight away, which is really nice. Too often I think bartenders end up brought in for their first shift, end up working behind the bar making drinks, and kind of trying to thrown in at the deep end, if you like. So with these guys, we're trying to get them trained up properly first from day one, so that they've got the skills to actually do this. So if I just give you a quick rundown of what we actually did this week, we had the guys behind the bar straight away, but while we're closed. So we got the guys in, we gave them a tour of the building, ran through all the safety stuff, fire regulations, where we assemble, all the normal stuff that you would do first day. Then we took the guys behind the bar. I gave them a little tour of the bar, the way that the bar's set up, because we're quite different to most UK bars, at least, in that we're not using optics. Everything's on speed rails at the front of the bar. Everything's served right in front of the guests, the way that it should be. You know, rather than served on the back bar, making cocktails out of sight of your guests, not keeping an eye on your bar, that sort of thing. So I gave them an introduction to where everything happens in the bar, where the glass wash is, how that works, a little bit about... we went through our back bar and basically made sure that everyone knows what stuff tastes like. So we tasted a few spirits, we tasted a few liqueurs, but for the majority of stuff it was just, right, this is orange, this is interchangeable with this, Cointreau. It's crazy how little a lot of people actually know about this sort of thing, so don't assume anything about your bartenders when they come in. Assume they don't know anything, especially if you're hiring people that have never worked in a bar before, or that have worked in a kind of pub-type bar. Assume zero knowledge, and kind of work up from there. If you find out they already know something, brilliant, that's a lovely surprise. And these guys, they did know a few things about some of the spirits, which was really good to know. I would say Ben probably had a little bit more knowledge, but that's to be expected when he's worked in the bars before. We tried a few whiskies, that sort of thing. You know, we had a good time and tried a few things out. Then, before I had them making a single drink, the guys spent about an hour just pouring into jiggers, because we're not going to be free pouring with these guys straight away at all. So we literally had them getting used to holding the bottles, pulling the bottles out of the speed rails, holding the bottle at the right angle when they're pouring, pouring accurately into a jigger, being able to bounce cut, being able to do other cuts, that sort of thing, and really just drilling in the very basic skills that kind of get assumed and never really trained as such. How to actually hold the bottle is a little bit alien to a lot of people. If you go into a bar where there is very little training, you will see a lot of people grabbing the bottle in the middle rather than on the neck, which makes it quite difficult to control, and you wobble around a lot. So things like that. So we were using some of the stuff that people don't expect to be trained. The last thing I think they were expecting when they walked in was that they would be spending an hour simply pouring. But they saw the value to it, and they got these techniques down, so that when the actual bartenders came in that generally work there, that haven't had this sort of training, they were like, these guys are cutting cleaner than we do. These guys are pouring more accurately. So just within an hour, just spending an hour, rather than trying to shove cocktail recipes into their heads, and trying to just cram them with information. Right, let's just learn this, let's make it muscle memory. And then these guys will actually, when they get behind the bar, it feels automatic to be doing the pours. I'm doing it left and right-handed. It's not as valuable when you're jigger pouring, because you're not often going to need to jigger pour left-handed if you're right-handed, and vice versa. But if they get to the point where we have them free pouring, then obviously it's going to be very advantageous that they can use left and right hands. And that's also something I'm drilling into these guys with the Flair stuff that we're going to be teaching them as well. So every move that they learn, I want them to learn it left and right-handed right from day one, so that when they, assuming they want to go on and do competitions or anything along those lines, they are in the perfect position. They're going to have every skill they need, and every move that they can do left or right-handed, and they're going to have so much more flexibility with putting together a routine or any sort of sequence that they'll be using behind the bar. So what do these new bartenders have to look forward to over the next few weeks? Well, next week they start Flair. So this week we've had them pouring and getting used to where everything is in the bar and the layout and everything like that. Next week, we actually start them on their Flair training. So I've put together a very basic course, which is going to be basically 10 Flair moves. It's not even all Flair moves. Some of it is just specific pours and that kind of thing. But it's like a base level certification that I want these guys to get up to kind of get them to bite the bug for Flair. So I'm creating some videos at the moment for the guys so that they can use them as a reference to practice at home. But I'm also going to release those on our YouTube channel. So if you go over to bartenderhq.com and you click the link, you will be taken to our YouTube channel, or I may just put together a post with all of the videos in one place that you'll be able to follow along. And if you've never flared before, this is a really good place to start to learn to flare bartend. As I mentioned in the interview, there is a post on the bartenderhq.com website which will explain to you exactly how to put together all the equipment that you need to learn this stuff, how to make some glasses that you can use again and again and be practicing with without wrecking your apartment or your home, best way to set up your area that you're going to practice in, all that kind of thing, so you can minimise the effect that it has on the rest of your life. So check that out. That is how to create a free Flair Bartender Kit, something along those lines. It's on the site. As I say on the interview video, just Google free Flair Bartender Kit and you will find it. Which should be the first post that comes up for that. So I hope that gives you guys a little bit of incentive to join in and give Flair bartending a try. If it's something that you've never done before, or if it's not something that's appropriate for your bar, you can still learn it, and it could be something that's very useful for you down the line. It could get you a job if you want to move abroad, if you want to move up to a cooler bar, if you want to go ahead and just try something else out. Give it a try, and I'd really love to see your videos of how you're getting on. And I'm here with Ben and Shannon, who have just had their first session learning to be trainee Flair bartenders here at Reflex Arcadian, and just wanted to have a quick chat with them about how the session's gone. We've been here for probably 2 hours, and what sort of things have you been going through?
Learning the jumps, was it?
Bounce pause,
Yeah,
bounce cuts, yeah.
Reverse pause.
Yeah.
Speed rail.
Speed rail, yeah, so a bit about the layout of the bar, the way that everything's set up. Then we've been going through different ways of pouring, accuracy. We're going to be using jiggers here, so everything's going to be measured pours. It's not going to be free pour, certainly not at the moment. Maybe something that we look at a bit further down the line. But how do you feel it's gone today, guys?
Pretty well.
You enjoying the idea of flaring and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, something that you want to get involved with?
Yeah.
Now, there is a post on bartenderhq.com which is how to put together a free Flair bartending kit. If you just search free Flair Kit on Google, you'll find it. It's the first thing that comes up. And I'm going to be posting the moves that these guys are going to be learning on our YouTube channel. So if you want to join in and you want to learn the same stuff that these guys are learning, then get over to the YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/users/bartenderhq. I'll put a link in. And that will be pretty simple. Well, thank you anyway, guys. Thanks for being here. Is there anything that you want to ask me about Flair at all, or any sort of concerns that you've got? No? Covered everything?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No problems. So I'd love to hear your training stories. So if you've got a great story about when you were trained as a bartender, or when you've trained a new bartender, I would love to hear them. Pop me an email over at david@bartenderhq.com. I'd love to hear all your cool stories, how you've wound them up, all that sort of thing. We had some great ones in the past. We sent a guy out to get a keg refilled at a pub up the road. That was good fun. We sent a bartender out to try and find an alcohol strainer so we could make a virgin daiquiri and take the alcohol out of it. We've had a few good ones, actually. We've had people doing ice stock takes. We've had people individually wrapping lime wedges and labelling them with the dates. All that sort of stuff. So if you've got a really cool story about the way that you've wound up a trainee, I need some ideas for these guys. So drop me a line, and I will see you guys again next week on the bartenderhq.com podcast. But don't forget, in the meantime, follow us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, that's @bartenderhq, and also check out our YouTube channel, because I am going to put up these Flair videos. They're going to be starting this week, and you'll be able to learn some very basic Flair moves absolutely free from bartenderhq.com. See you next time, guys.
Thanks for listening to the bartenderhq.com podcast. Find us on Facebook and Twitter at bartenderhq.